Henshaws, daily living, supporting people with sight loss and a range of other disabilities to go beyond expectations.
Welcome to Henshaws Tips, Tricks and Tech, but this is really about a knowledge hub. So today we're with Sian. Hello Sian.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about a more serious subject matter, which is counselling. So Sian, tell us what you know.
Well, so counselling can be helpful for many emotional problems. So I've worked with lots of different issues over the years, but here at Henshaws, one of the core things that comes up quite often is grief. So when people are diagnosed with a sight loss, they really grieve the loss of their sight. And counselling can help people through those feelings.
So it's kind of loss. Does it matter if you lost a limb, lost your sight, lost the person? Is it the same kind of process?
Well, yes, to an extent. I think all loss and all grief is kind of very individual. It's like a fingerprint, so everyone sort of grieves differently. But there are some kind of commonalities within that, so you will see certain emotions that come up time and time again. And because of that, there's been like a grief model, a five-stage grief model that was created by a lady called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Okay.
And that was through her work with terminally ill patients. So she saw them going through sort of certain stages of grief as they were coming to terms with their own sort of death.
Right.
Really, but that can then be applied across all kinds of loss. So as you say, it can be the loss of a limb, loss of a person, loss of a job, loss of
I've
a
been
pet.
to counselling. So I did counselling with my wife. My wife went through IVF, so we had a couple of miscarriages. So that helped us.
Yeah.
So there's kind of stages, isn't there?
There are.
Can you tell me what the stages are?
So with loss, when we're looking at loss, the main stages that we're talking about really are denial, which is the third stage.
Right.
Then we move into anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
So what's the bargaining bit?
Well, bargaining is one that a lot of people maybe don't really recognise in their own grief process, but it's important to remember that when Kubler-Ross kind of designed this model, this framework, it was based on people sort of dealing with their own death.
Okay.
So that doesn't always come up, but it can do. People can sometimes think, look, I'll be a better person if you just make this go away, or
Right.
if you'll give me what I need right now, I'll quit drinking, or I'll stop smoking.
So the pray to the man.
Yeah, praying to God, praying to fate, praying to anyone who'll listen. I'll be better if you just do this for me. So it's a stage that people don't always recognise, and that's okay if you don't go through that stage.
And the people kind of bounce around and miss stages and go back to stages. How does that play?
Absolutely. It was never intended that people would go through it in a kind of a rigid sort of series of stages. You will absolutely kind of, as you say, bounce around or ebb and flow through the stages. So you might miss stages altogether. There's no guarantee that your grief and your loss is going to go through a linear phase, starting at denial and ending in acceptance. You might revisit stages. So some people might only experience it momentarily. So denial, for instance, that might be your very initial thought of, this can't be happening, I don't believe this. But that might really give way very quickly to anger. You might come back to disbelief a little bit, but really, that denial might only be fleeting, or it could last a little bit longer. So, like I say, it's important to remember it's not sort of a formula for how to grieve or what to expect. And if you don't go through those stages, it doesn't mean that you're grieving wrong.
And I think the other thing that people do forget is it's not necessarily just for the individual that's had the specific loss. So for visual impairment, for instance, obviously the person that's lost the sight is the main game. That's the primary objective, to support them. But the people attached to them also go through their stages of grief. So, denial and anger and...
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've got to remember, say for instance, if for your husband or your wife's lost their sight, the impact that's going to have on the marriage dynamic is huge. So say that partner can't work anymore, you've then got to face financial loss. And if that person was often the strong one, the kind of the one that held it together in the relationship, and now suddenly they're really struggling, you've got to change roles and you've got to be the person that's holding it together, and your life gets turned upside down. So you're going to go on your own grieving journey as well. And then people often find that their support networks around them can't be there for them while they're grieving, because they're grieving too. That's when people sort of think, I'm really struggling here, I'm on my own with this, I need to talk to somebody else.
Well, it's an amazing thing. It worked for us. I know it does work.
Yeah.
So that's really good. But you know, what this video wanted to be really was about, you know, what happened behind the door. Just trying to take all, you know, the myth away from what counselling is, because it's not a bunch of tree huggers.
It's not. No, it's really. We definitely don't hug any trees at all. No.
Not
no.
even sometimes.
Never.
No.
I mean, if you
I feel
want
like
to,
a bit like Ali G now.
if you want to, you can. But no, I mean, really, I think people sometimes don't really know what to expect, and I think it's okay to ask. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if someone gets a referral into counselling, one of the things I'll do is I'll give them a phone call and have a little chat with them on the phone. And some people might just still not be sure it's for them. So I'll ask, do they want to come along for one session? I'll explain what the first session is. So it's usually a lot of paperwork. So, you know, I'll be going through a contract and boundarying with people, explaining what I do, what I offer, what they can expect from me, what I expect from them. And then we just have a little chat really about what it is that they're coming with, what their problem is. So I never assume just because somebody's come and they've just been diagnosed with sight loss that they're coming with grief. They might not fully really understand what their emotions are at this point. So it's just talking to them and understanding where they're at and what they want really.
That's brilliant.
What they need from it, and then we take it from there.
Well, thanks for coming.
No problem.
We'd love to talk loads more. Could be here like 15 minutes. Could even do a session on camera, right? But you don't want to know anything about me. So anyway, so that is counselling in a nutshell. A bit longer than 5 minutes. We had a 5-minute. Deb was like that. 5 minutes. But it was worth it, you see. We got an extra minute out of it, I think. So listen, if you want to know anything more about counselling, hook us up. You know, just send us a message. If you've gone through counselling and it's worked, let us know about that. So, as always, tune in, thumbs up, subscribe, talk to us, because we're here to help. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.